joke. He dug up the treasure carefully and smiled at it like a proud father. One evening, dark clouds gathered in the sky. Rain began pouring heavily. Most villagers stayed indoors, but Henry still rushed to check his gold. He slipped in the mud and rolled down a small hill screaming, "My treasure!" A group of children saw him covered in mud and burst into laughter. One child asked, "Uncle, did you wrestle with a buffalo?" Henry angrily chased the children away with a stick. Then he checked the gold and sighed with relief. Robert watched all this from a distance. He shook his head and said softly, "This man loves gold more than life itself." That night Robert could not sleep. His children cried from hunger. His wife looked worried. Suddenly Robert made a decision. "Tomorrow night I will take the gold," he whispered. The next evening Henry checked the treasure as usual and returned home happily. He had no idea someone was watching him. Late at night Robert quietly walked to the old wall carrying a shovel. The moon hid behind clouds, making the night dark and silent. Robert dug carefully. His heart pounded loudly. Every sound frightened him. Suddenly an owl hooted nearby. Robert jumped so high that he fell backward into the mud. "Even the birds are trying to scare me," he grumbled. Finally his shovel hit something hard. Clang! Robert quickly uncovered the giant lump of gold. For a moment he could not believe his eyes. The gold looked magical in the moonlight. Robert wrapped the treasure in cloth and hurried home. His hands trembled the entire way. The next morning Henry skipped breakfast because he was too excited to see his gold again. He rushed to the old wall and dug quickly, but suddenly his smile disappeared. The hole was empty. Henry stared at the hole silently for a few seconds. Then he screamed so loudly that birds flew from nearby trees. "My gold, my beautiful gold," he cried dramatically. He pulled his hair and rolled on the ground. A goat passing nearby became frightened and ran away. Even the goat looked confused by Henry's behavior. Soon villagers gathered around him. Some were worried while others secretly enjoyed the scene. "What happened?" asked George. "My treasure is gone," Henry cried. "Someone stole my gold." An old woman asked, "Why did you bury gold underground instead of keeping it in a safe place?" Henry wiped his tears and said proudly, "Because nobody could steal it there." The villagers exchanged amused looks. One child whispered, "That plan worked very badly." Henry continued crying loudly, "My life is ruined, I am finished." At that moment a wise neighbor named Michael stepped forward. Michael was known for his calm mind and funny sense of humor. Michael listened carefully to the whole story while scratching his beard thoughtfully. Then he asked Henry, "Tell me honestly, did you ever use the gold?" Henry looked shocked. "Use it? Of course not. It was too valuable to spend." Michael nodded slowly. "Did you buy good food with it?" "No." "Did you help your family?" "No." "Did you repair your broken house?" "No." "Did you help poor people?" Henry looked offended. "Certainly not." Michael smiled gently. "Then why are you crying?" Henry blinked in confusion. "Because my gold is gone." Michael picked up a large stone from the ground and handed it to Henry. "Here," Michael said calmly. "Bury this stone in the hole." Henry stared at him as if he had gone mad. "Why would I bury a stone?" Michael replied, "Because it will serve the same purpose as your gold." The villagers burst into laughter. Even a few chickens nearby started clucking loudly as if they were laughing too. Henry became red with embarrassment. "A stone is not gold," he shouted. Michael folded his arms and said wisely, "Your gold was useless to you because you never used it. It simply sat underground like a stone." The crowd suddenly became quiet. Henry slowly realized the truth in Michael's words. For the first time in many years, Henry began thinking deeply. He remembered all the times he refused to help others. He remembered eating stale bread while owning enough wealth to enjoy life comfortably. He remembered pretending to sleep whenever guests visited because he did not want to serve tea. The villagers expected him to become angry, but instead Henry sat quietly beside the empty hole. A few days later something surprising happened. Henry sold some old hidden coins he still had left and repaired his leaking roof. The villagers were shocked when he invited neighbors for tea. Some people checked if they had entered the wrong house. Henry even gave sweets to children. One little boy nearly fainted from surprise. Slowly Henry changed his habits. He began helping poor families and lending tools without charging money. One evening he met Robert near the market. Robert looked nervous and guilty. Henry quietly said, "I know you took the gold." Robert's face turned pale. But Henry surprised him by smiling gently. "Keep it if you truly need it. Just use it wisely and do not become a miser like me." Tears filled Robert's eyes. He promised to use the money for his family and honest work. From that day onward, Henry became known not as the village miser but as the wise old man who learned an important lesson too late, but not too late to change. Moral of the story: wealth is useful only when it is used wisely. Money hidden away without purpose is no better than a stone buried in the ground. True happiness comes from sharing, helping others, and enjoying life with kindness and balance.